Hey everyone, it's Jacinda, and I wanted to do a review of the Ego T. I wanted it to be a little different though, because I've been using an Ego T for about 4 months now, and I know there's tons of videos out there that go over the features of the Ego T, and they give really good information there. I wanted to more talk about like some of the things I've run into with my Ego T and solutions that I've come up with to fix the problem. So anyway, here's my Ego T. Isn't it lovely? And we'll do a little vape off of it. Lovely. So it's a nice PV. I really love the Ego. I love having the convenience of the tank and just filling it up and taking it with me. Maybe have an extra tank in my purse or my pocket, and it'll go all day for me. So that's wonderful. I've loved it so much that anytime I've run into problems, I've tried to figure out a solution rather than just switch to something else. So the first thing is they do tend to leak or give you a dry hit. So or the other. And both problems seem to stem from just the wick being either not big enough, not small enough, positioned incorrectly in the needle cylinder. So one thing that I found is there's a thread on ECF called Simple CJ's Wick Mod, and it's a great informational step-by-step instructions on how to replace the wick in your atomizer, and it works great. It's a little tricky to figure out at first, but once you figure it out, it takes like 10 minutes to do it. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you're having either leaking problems or problems where you're getting dry hits. And the other thing is I have a friend who has major problems with the Addy flooding. And I don't really have that problem too much. I think it's because I take gentler draws. He takes a bit of a stronger draw on his, so the juice tends to get pulled into the atomizer and floods it. One thing that you'll notice just before that happens is that the draw will start getting tighter, and if you know that your atomizer is fairly clean, so that shouldn't be an issue, then you can either take your tank out, take your atomizer off, blow any extra juice out of it, and then try again. Or one thing that I've done, there have been a couple times when it's happened to me, so I'll just pop the tank off and just tailpipe it until I get the extra juice out of the atomizer, and then put the lid back on. Now I'm kind of a frugal person. You could maybe call me cheap, but I hate wasting stuff, so I'm like, oh, there's juice in there, I can vape it. Another thing is that I will use my atomizer until it's completely dead. So I do my best to try and maintain everything and keep it going strong. I clean my addies. This addy used to be green, but after several cleanings it started to chip off the coating, and so I just peeled it off, and it's not a big deal, but it does happen after you've had an atomizer for a while. One thing with getting these really clean is you do need to take the needle plate out and do a dry burn on it, in my opinion. I've never been able to get it really clean unless I do a dry burn, and if you have the needle plate in, you can't see the coil, so you can't really do that properly. So a couple of tools I've got in my arsenal, and you also need this to do the wick mod if you do that, is a hemostat to get in there and pull it out. And then I came across this little doodad of my stepson's in one of his little tool kits, and I'm not sure what it's for, but it works great. Pretty much if you have something that's kind of hollow, and you can use like the end of an empty pen or just anything that'll fit down in there so you can push the needle plate back in without damaging the needle. So that's another useful deal. When you fill the tank up, it's kind of a pain to to take off that hard plastic top. So I invested in a couple of needle tip squeeze bottles. The first one I got is from the craft store, and so it's got just a plastic tip. It works pretty well. It's kind of a tight fit, so sometimes you get juice bubbles and it gets messy if you're not careful. So another one that I tried is from the hobby store, and that works really well as far as not causing any bubbles, but you do have to really like squeeze it hard because that's a pretty thin needle. So unless you have really thin juice, it's a little bit of an effort to get it out, but it works. So there you go. There's some of my advice with the Ego Tea, and vape them if you got them.